Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. Today we're doing macrame, so I'm going to show you some basics. I'm going to show you things that you can use for purses, for decoration, for tops, for pretty much anything. So stay tuned. So the first thing we need and the most important thing is the yarn that we usually use for this. So there is a flat version of this and then this twisted turned version, and that's the one I'm using here. And I really like the way it frays a little bit. So yeah, you can choose whichever one you want, but make sure to know if you want things to fray or not. So there are different thicknesses that you can choose from. That's completely up to you. So this is the 6mm kind. You can use thinner or thicker if you'd like. So for keychains and smaller things, I definitely recommend 1.5 or 2mm size, but you can also do bigger stuff like bags, purses, and similar with even thicker yarn. But for today, it doesn't matter if you have it thick or thin, we can use it all just to get started. So in case you're a little bit worried about the frame, you can use a different kind. I think it's called a double twisted kind, maybe called differently in different regions, but it's basically twisted up to the one direction and then into the other. That way it doesn't fray a whole lot. So let's get started with the project. So today I'm going to show you just some basic things like these wooden balls that we can use for the decorative parts. And here, of course, you have some rings and some sticks, or pretty much anything else can be used here. So I'm going to show you just some basic things, what you can do. Here you can see I have a larger ring in the back, so there are many different things that you can do with macrame. So you can easily find these things online and most probably in any craft store in your area. So now we're going to need some fabric scissors, something to measure with. So I have here my measuring tape and my hand gauge. And then of course, if you want your decorative piece to hang somewhere, you're going to need something to hang it on. So this can be pretty much. So in order for my ring to stay in place, I have here a little nail that I put in, and then I'm just going to start working like this. So you're going to see it from the top, but just so you know what's in the background. So that way it's going to be way easier to keep everything in place, but you can do this in different ways if you don't want to put a nail in your desk. So I'm also not a professional, I'm just trying this out with you, so let's see how well we can do this. So I'm going to start off with the most basic things. So for this, you're just going to need a double yarn basically in any length that you want. So I'm going to show you how you can get started with anything here. So here I have 50 centimeters of length and it's just folded in half. So I have 25. And yeah, what we want to do is the section where we have this little loop, we want to go around the ring here. So we're basically going to push it onto the bottom or through the bottom through this little loop and then back out like this. You can of course do it the other way around. In that case, the loop is going to be on the other end. Also, another important thing is that the left piece is always your working thread and the right piece is going to stay put. So the left one is the one we're working with and making our patterns with. So I know that there is a trick that the left thread should be a little bit longer than the right thread. That way it's easier to work with it. So we're going to try that out and see how well it works. Okay, so let's get started with our first knot. So as I said, the left thread is the one we're working with, so we're going to do that first. We're going to fold it like this so that it forms a 90-degree angle with the right thread. And then what we want to do is go through here, so basically into this little circle we shaped, underneath the right thread, and then it should go out on the top, and then we can just pull it tight. So here you see that the left thread is basically again on top, which is what we want, and then we're gonna go underneath the right thread again. So now we're gonna get basically another loop here, and then we're gonna go through that little loop and pull it to the left. So now we're gonna have this little loop here and the right one right next to it. So now we can pull it to the top so that it's a little bit smaller, and now you can see that it's actually pretty similar to the starting knot we did so that everything stays on our ring. So now what we're going to do is repeat this so that we get multiple knots like this, one after another on here. And after a couple of knots, this is what we have. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like. You can of course make it as long as you'd like. And yeah, even though I made the left thread longer, you see how much of the right I have still left over. So this is because we're working with the left one, and it's the one doing all the bows and all of the twists and knots. That means that the right one is always going to stay a little bit longer. So I could have even made the left thread longer than it already was. So I'm going to show you something that's similar, but basically like an expanded version of the last knot. So you see here I have basically the two pieces that I just did one of a moment ago, and that's what we're going to use, and we're going to do the same knot with both. So this time I'm starting with the right side, and I'm basically doing this exact same knot again around the two threads this time, so the two middle threads. So I made two loops here, as you can see, the first one right here and then the other one in the other direction. So now we're going to push them to the top a little bit. You can just pull on it basically, and it's going to tighten on top. There we go. And then what we're going to do next is basically repeat the same knot, this time on the left side. So just the first couple of knots are a little bit challenging. When you get the hang of it, it goes really fast. So yeah, this way we're going to have basically the exact same knots, but they're going to be facing different directions. So you see this little pearl shape is basically on the right here on top, and then right next to it on the left. So here you can see that we get little loops like this on each side due to the two knots changing direction every time. So yeah, this is the effect that we get. Here, just make sure to leave a little bit of room here, so you want this loop to stay on there, and then just push it to the top, because that way you're gonna get the decorative side piece like that. So if you do it tightly, then you're not gonna have this effect. So this is how you can do it. You can make it more tight, as you've seen on top with the first two knots, or you can do it a bit more loosely and then get a completely different visual effect. So that's completely up to you. You can do this little butterfly effect, or you can make it tighter on here. So now I'm going to show you the crossed knot. So here I again have the two pieces connected to my ring. So now I'm again going to start the exact same way. So I'm going to start with the very left thread and then put it across from the two middle threads. Then the very right thread, we're going to put over the left one, the one that just crossed. And then we're going to go underneath the two middle ones, and this loop is going to go through here, so through the first loop we did, and then we're just going to pull it upwards. And there we go. We're going to leave just a little bit of room here on top, but apart from that, we're done with the first stage. So let's do a couple more so that I can show you what the effect is. And this time I'm going to start from the right side. So I'm doing the same thing, cross over the two middle ones, then the one on the left this time goes underneath, so over the crossing thread and underneath the two middle ones. and then through this loop here, and now you can pull that tight as well. And yeah, I'm gonna keep going like this for a little bit of the length here, and then I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So you guys, this is what it looks like. So you see I put a little decorative ring here on the bottom, a little wooden ball. So I think it looks really, really good. Of course, I could have made it longer, or I can just continue from this point on again and then just have this little ball kind of stay in the middle. So that's completely up to you, and there's a lot of freedom to do this any way you like. So yeah, you see how simple this is, so you can incorporate different kinds of things. Here is the little wooden ball that I chose to use. Of course, you could have done a ring or something else. So yeah, you can stop with it, or you can just keep going with a different knot as well. So you have all the freedom there. So now I'm going to show you something else that I also discovered online and thought was really cute. So we have again 2 threads here connected to our ring. So I think this is called the wave knot, but don't hold me to it. I've seen many different names for similar knots. So yeah, I'm going to show you how you can get started with this. So we're starting from the left side, and I'm actually doing the first knot the exact same way as I started the last set of knots. So I'm just going to start that. It's the same thing as just a moment ago, and then we're going to do that one more time. So this way we're going to have this little spiral or wave forming. So now you can see the difference. It was the same knot, but in this case I didn't change the direction. So I always went in from the same side, and that way I made a twist like this. So by changing directions, we get it straight, and by doing it from the same side, it stays twisted. So here I have some shorter pieces for this time, and I'm going to show you what you can do with them. So we're going to take the very left, and we're going to cross over all of the rest of them. Then we're going to take the next one, and we're going to put it upwards and through this little loop here. So we're basically starting from the bottom here, so from underneath, and then we go over it and through the loop. And then we're going to do the same thing again around the same loop. And then we just have to make sure that there's a little bit of distance from the first one, and then pull tight like this. And then here we still have this left one we started with, so that's going to be our leading thread, and we're going to do the same thing on the next one. So just make sure that you're keeping the same height. That's what you want. It's going to look a lot nicer in the end that way, but you're going to see it in a moment. And yeah, from this point on, we're basically just going to continue the exact same way. So just make sure to keep the height as I said, and that way basically we're going to get something that crosses, so basically a knot that crosses over horizontally. So it's going to basically follow this line or this thread right here. So you can of course make it diagonal as well, or just change the height of it. So when I say height, I mean the distance from the beginning knot to the next one. So that's completely up to you. So this is what I meant. So it can be a straight line or a diagonal line or anything in between. And you can see how easy this is to do, and I think it looks really, really interesting. So it's a really cool thing to do. Now I'm going to show you all of the knots we did and what you can do with them. So these are all of the knots that we did, and what we're going to do now is do the very last knot at the end so that everything stays in place. So I already did one, and you can see here what it looks like. It's basically just a regular little knot here at the end. That way everything stays in place. So you basically make this little pretzel shape just like a regular knot, and then you push it all the way up and tighten. So that's the easiest way to do it, I think. There are also different ways how you can do the same thing. You can basically take two threads and do them as if they were one like this. That way the knot is a little bit thicker if you'd like that. So you also can choose if you want to do the knots right underneath of your work, or you can do one knot like here and then another one on the bottom and then fray the leftover bit a little bit. So that's completely up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed all of the knots. Let me know if you have some other cool ones that you want to share. And apart from that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to shoot a thumbs up and stay tuned for our next video. You can also subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell. See you next time. Bye!